Tae-ho Kim looked up at the massive entrance of the Galactic Commerce Hub with wide eyes. The enormous space station hung like a shining jewel against the blackness of space. Hundreds of ships came and went, dropping off visitors from all corners of the galaxy. "So this is it," he whispered to himself. After years of training and hard work, he was finally here. Tomorrow, he would be introduced as Earth's new ambassador to the Galactic Council. Today, though, he was just a tourist. Tae-ho was tall for a human, with dark skin that gleamed under the artificial lights of the hub. He wore simple clothes, worn jeans, a plain black t-shirt, and a brown leather jacket. His diplomatic badge was safely tucked in his pocket. He wanted to see how the hub really worked before he put on his official uniform. The entrance hall was bigger than any building Tae-ho had ever seen on Earth. Creatures of all shapes, sizes, and colors moved through the space. Some had 6 legs, others floated above the ground. Some were covered in scales, others in fur or feathers. The air filled with strange sounds as they all talked in their own languages. "Amazing," Tae-ho said softly, touching the translator in his ear. The device turned all the alien speech into words he could understand. A map on the wall showed all 300 levels of the hub. There were shops, restaurants, entertainment areas, and cultural displays from thousands of worlds. Tae-ho had studied all the major alien species, but seeing them in person was different. A group of tall, thin aliens with purple skin walked past him. They were Zentari, famous for their music. A short, round creature covered in gold fur bumped into his leg. Sorry. It squeaked, looking up at Tae-ho with 3 blinking eyes. "No problem," Tae-ho said with a smile. The creature hurried away. Tae-ho spent hours exploring the first few levels of the hub. He watched a dance performance by a group of 4-armed beings. He smelled strange foods cooking in the food court. He listened to traders arguing over prices in a dozen languages. On level 5, he found a shop selling advanced technology. Earth was still catching up with many alien civilizations when it came to tech. Tae-ho walked slowly through the store, looking at devices he couldn't even name. A small silver object caught his eye. It looked like a cube that could fit in his palm. When he got closer, the cube began to glow with soft blue light. "Interesting," Tae-ho said, leaning in for a better look. "It responds to neural patterns," said a small green alien behind the counter. "It's a personal assistant device, very popular with the more advanced species." Tae-ho was about to ask more questions when a large shadow fell over him. He turned around and had to look up to see the face of the creature standing there. It was a Vraxian, nearly 7 feet tall with blue skin and 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face. The Vraxian wore the black uniform of the hub's security force, with a badge that read DOO in universal script. "What are you doing here?" the Vraxian asked, his voice deep and harsh. "Just looking around," Tae-ho replied calmly. He was used to dealing with all types of beings from his diplomatic training. "This is a premium zone," Dahl said, crossing his massive arms. "What species are you?" "I'm human," Tae-ho said. The Vraxian's upper eyes narrowed. "Human? From Earth?" "That's right." Dahl made a strange sound that Tae-ho's translator didn't catch. It might have been a laugh. "Let me see your identification," Dahl demanded, holding out a 3-fingered hand. Tae-ho reached into his pocket and pulled out his basic visitor pass. He had his diplomatic credentials too, but he wanted to experience the hub as a regular visitor. Dahl barely looked at the pass before handing it back. "This doesn't give you access to premium zones. This shop is for advanced species only." Tae-ho looked around. There were several other aliens in the shop, all looking at them now. Some seemed uncomfortable, others curious. "I'm just browsing," Tae-ho explained. "I'm not causing any trouble." "Rules are rules," Dahl said, his voice getting louder. "Primitive planet species need special permission to enter establishments like this." The word primitive made Tae-ho's jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. As a diplomat, He knew better than to lose his temper. I understand there are rules, Taiho said, but I don't see any signs saying humans aren't allowed. You wouldn't, Dol sneered. Your species is barely space capable. You've only been part of the galactic community for 20 years. The green shop owner shifted nervously behind the counter but said nothing. Other customers moved away, pretending not to watch. I'd be happy to leave if you can show me where these rules are posted, Taiho said, still keeping his voice level and polite. Dol's blue face darkened to purple. Are you questioning my authority? Not at all, Taiho said. I'm just trying to understand. Before he could finish, Dol grabbed his arm. The Vraxian's grip was surprisingly strong. Taiho could have broken free. His diplomat training included self-defense, but causing a scene would only make things worse. You're coming with me, Dol said, pulling Taiho toward the door. As they left the shop, other aliens in the hallway stopped to stare. Dol didn't lower his voice as he marched Taiho through the crowded corridor. Underdeveloped species never know their place, Dol announced loudly, always causing problems. Humans especially. Taiho felt his face grow hot, but he kept quiet. He had encountered prejudice before, even on Earth. Making a scene wouldn't help. Your kind should stick to the lower levels with the other basic species, Dol continued. Premium zones are for civilizations that have actually contributed to galactic culture. They passed shops filled with beautiful items Taiho would have loved to examine. Aliens of all types watched as the tall Vraxian security guard pushed the human along. Some looked away in embarrassment. Others stared openly. None stepped in to help. You can't even control your own planet, Dol said. Wars, pollution, poverty, and you expect to be treated like equals. Taiho took a deep breath. He thought about responding, about explaining that Earth had made huge progress, that humans had unique qualities valuable to the galactic community. But Dol wasn't interested in a real conversation. They reached a large open area, the main concourse of Level 5. Hundreds of beings moved through the space. Dol's grip on Taiho's arm tightened. I'm taking you to the main security office, Dol said. We'll need to review your documents and possibly revoke your visitor pass. That seems unnecessary, Taiho replied calmly. I'm happy to return to the public areas. Too late for that, Dol said with a nasty smile. You've violated security protocols. Your species has a history of causing problems here. As they crossed the concourse, a voice called out. Excuse me, what's happening here? Taiho turned to see a human woman approaching them. She was Korean, like him, with short black hair and a professional gray suit. A small silver pin on her collar marked her as hub staff. Official business, Dol said gruffly. This human was in a restricted area. The woman looked at Taiho carefully. For a moment, he thought he saw recognition in her eyes, but she kept her face neutral. I'm Hana Park, Assistant Director of Galactic Commerce, she said. Her voice was calm but carried authority. I'd like to understand the situation. Dol straightened up, trying to look important. Just doing my job. This primitive was bothering customers in the premium tech shop. Hannah's expression didn't change, but Taiho noticed her eyes narrow slightly at the word primitive. I see, she said. Sir, may I see your identification, please? Taiho hesitated. He could show his basic visitor pass again, which would probably lead to more humiliation, or he could reveal who he really was. He thought about all the humans who visited the hub, who might face the same treatment, about Earth's struggle to be taken seriously in the galactic community, about tomorrow, when he would stand before the Council as Earth's voice. Taiho reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a small metallic card. When he pressed his thumb to its surface, it projected a holographic emblem. The blue and green sphere of Earth, surrounded by the golden stars of the Galactic Council. Below it, in universal script, were the words, Ambassador Taiho Kim, Earth Diplomatic Corps, highest clearance. The hologram cast a blue glow over Dol's face, which was rapidly changing from dark purple to pale gray. The blue glow of Tai-Ho's diplomatic badge lit up the faces of everyone nearby. The hologram spun slowly, showing Earth's symbol and Tai-Ho's high-level clearance for all to see. Dole, the security guard, took a step back. His blue skin had turned a sickly gray color. His 4 yellow eyes blinked rapidly. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Around them, aliens who had been watching the scene suddenly found reasons to look away. Some hurried off, whispering to each other. Others pretended to be very interested in nearby shop windows. Hannah Park's face remained calm, but a small smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Ambassador Kim," she said, speaking clearly so everyone could hear. "I apologize for this misunderstanding." Tai-Ho tucked his badge back into his pocket. "No need to apologize, Assistant Director Park. It seems there was some confusion." Dole finally found his voice. "Ambassador, I wasn't told. There was no notification off." Hannah held up her hand, and the Vraxian fell silent. "Security Officer Dole, report to administration immediately." Her voice was polite but ice-cold. "Your supervisor will want to discuss your approach to interspecies relations." "But I was just following." "Immediately," Hannah repeated. Dole's shoulders slumped. He gave a stiff bow to Tai-Ho. "My deepest apologies, Ambassador. I didn't realize." "That I was an ambassador?" Tai-Ho asked quietly. "Or the humans deserve basic respect?" Dole had no answer. He turned and walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing across the concourse. Hannah turned to Tai-Ho with a more genuine smile. "Ambassador Kim, it's an honor to meet you in person, though I wish it had been under better circumstances." "Please, call me Tai-Ho," he said, returning her smile. "And don't worry about what happened. It was educational." "Educational?" Hannah raised an eyebrow. "I wanted to see the hub as a regular visitor before my official introduction tomorrow," Tai-Ho explained. "I got exactly what I wanted, the real experience." Hannah nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Unfortunately, what happened to you isn't uncommon. Many humans face similar treatment here, especially those without special status." "I know," Tai-Ho said. "That's partly why I accepted this position." A small crowd had gathered nearby, aliens pretending not to listen to their conversation. Hannah noticed and gestured toward a doorway. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion somewhere more private. Would you join me for a drink, Ambassador? I know a quiet place on level 8. Tai-Ho checked the time. "I have a few hours before my next meeting. Lead the way." They took a gravity lift to level 8. Unlike the busy shopping areas below, this level had fewer people and a more relaxed feeling. Soft lights glowed along the walls, and gentle music played from hidden speakers. Hannah led Tai-Ho to a small lounge with a view of space. Through the large window, they could see Earth's moon in the distance, a small white dot against the blackness. They sat at a table in a corner. A server, a tall, thin alien with silver skin, approached. "2 Terran teas, please," Hannah ordered. After the server left, Tai-Ho looked around. The other customers were mostly well-dressed aliens, many wearing official-looking badges or uniforms. "This is where the hub staff comes to relax," Hannah explained. "Most tourists never find it." "It's nice," Tai-Ho said. "Peaceful." Their tea arrived, a familiar green liquid that smelled like home. Tai-Ho took a sip, surprised by how good it tasted. "Real tea from Earth," Hannah said with a smile. "One of our little luxuries here." "How long have you worked at the hub?" Tai-Ho asked. 5 years, Hannah replied. "I was one of the first humans to join senior management. It hasn't always been easy." "I can imagine," Tai-Ho said. "No," Hannah said, her voice gentle but firm. "I don't think you can, Ambassador. Not yet." She leaned forward. "What happened to you today was unpleasant, but you had your badge. You knew you could end it at any time." Tai-Ho nodded slowly. "You're right. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," Hannah said. Just understand, there are thousands of humans working and living in this hub. Most don't have diplomatic badges. They face what you faced every day, with no easy way out. That's why tomorrow is so important, Taiho said. If the council accepts my proposal. The council is not eager for change, Hannah interrupted. Especially the Vraxian representatives. They've benefited from keeping Earth classified as a developing species for 20 years. Things will change, Taiho said firmly. They have to. Hannah's communicator beeped. She checked it and her eyes widened. Word travels fast. The hub's chief administrator wants to meet you. Now. If possible, Hannah said. This incident with Dole has already reached the highest levels. Taiho finished his tea. Then we shouldn't keep them waiting. They took a private elevator to level 100, the administration level. The walls here were made of a shiny material that looked like gold. The floors were covered in soft, dark blue carpet. The air smelled clean and fresh. Hannah led Taiho to a large door at the end of a long hallway. 2 guards stood outside, not Vraxians, but tall beings with green skin and 4 arms. They nodded respectfully as Hannah and Taiho approached. Ambassador Kim to see Administrator Zol, Hannah announced. The doors slid open silently. Inside was a large office with a view of the entire space station. A being sat behind a large desk, humanoid in shape, but with pale yellow skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on its face. Administrator Zol was a Trazarian, one of the oldest species in the Galactic Council. Zol stood as they entered. Ambassador Kim, the administrator said, voice soft and musical. I cannot express how deeply sorry I am for today's unfortunate incident. Thank you, Administrator, Taiho said. But I'm not here to complain. Still, what happened was unacceptable, Zol continued. Officer Dole has been suspended pending an investigation. He will face serious consequences. Taiho walked to the window and looked out at the vast structure of the hub. From here, he could see ships coming and going, people of all species moving through the transparent walkways. Punishing one security guard won't solve the real problem, Taiho said. The problem is systemic. Systemic. Zol's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Earth has been part of the galactic community for 20 years, Taiho explained. In that time, we've learned your languages, adopted your technologies, followed your rules. Yet we're still classified as a developing species with limited rights. The classification system has been in place for millennia, Zol said. All new species must progress through the stages. It's tradition. Traditions can change, Taiho replied, especially when they cause harm. Hannah stepped forward. Administrator, I've documented over 200 incidents in the past year alone where humans faced discrimination in the hub. Despite this, human visitors increased by 30%, and human businesses in the hub have a 97% success rate, higher than any other new species. Zol sat back down, looking troubled. I was not aware the situation was so extensive. Tomorrow, Taiho said, I will present Earth's formal request to the Council. We are asking for reclassification from developing to established species status. That's unprecedented, Zol said. No species has jumped classification levels in less than 50 years. Perhaps it's time for a precedent, Taiho suggested. Zol's communicator chimed. The administrator checked it and sighed. The Vraxian Council representative is demanding a meeting with both of you. It seems Officer Dole is his distant relative. Of course he is, Hannah muttered. I'd be happy to meet with the Vraxian representative, Taiho said calmly. In fact, I welcome it. Zol looked surprised. You do? Yes, Taiho said with a small smile. After all, what happened today provides clear evidence supporting Earth's petition. The Vraxians should hear about it directly from me. Hannah looked at Taiho with new respect. The meeting is scheduled for this evening, before your presentation to the full council tomorrow. Perfect, Taiho said. That gives me time to prepare. As they left the administrator's office, Hannah turned to Taiho. You know the Vraxian representative will try to intimidate you, right? They're not known for their diplomatic skills. Tai-ho smiled. I've faced worse than angry aliens, Assistant Director Park. Hana, she corrected him. If I'm calling you Tai-ho, you should call me Hana. All right, Hana, he said. Would you help me prepare for this meeting? I could use your insights. Of course, she replied. But first, let me show you something. They took another elevator, this time going down to level 50. When the doors opened, Tai-ho found himself in a busy area filled with shops, restaurants, and businesses. The surprising thing was that most of the people here were human. Welcome to Little Earth, Hana said, the heart of the human community in the hub. Tai-ho looked around in amazement. Signs in Korean, English, Chinese, Arabic, and other Earth languages hung alongside the universal script. The smells of Earth foods, curry, barbecue, fresh bread, filled the air. Music from different human cultures played from various shops. I had no idea this existed, Tai-ho admitted. Few non-humans visit here, Hana explained. But every human in the hub knows about it. It's where we come to feel at home. As they walked through Little Earth, people began to notice Tai-ho. Whispers spread quickly. Soon, a small crowd had gathered around them. Is it true? A young man asked. Are you really the new ambassador? And did you really put a Vraxian security guard in his place? An older woman added. Tai-ho looked at Hana, who shrugged. News travels fast here. It's true that I'm the new ambassador, Tai-ho said to the crowd. And I'm here to fight for our place in the galaxy. The crowd broke into applause and cheers. The meeting room on level 150 of the Galactic Commerce Hub was large and round. A circular table filled the center, with 12 seats spaced evenly around it. The walls were made of a clear material that showed the stars outside. The floor glowed with soft blue light. Tai-ho stood by the window, looking out at the blackness of space. He now wore his official diplomatic uniform, a dark blue suit with Earth's symbol on the chest. The fabric was special, designed to impress aliens with its slight shimmer when he moved. Hana stood beside him, checking information on her tablet. The representatives from all major species will be here soon, she said. The Vraxian representative arrived early and is waiting in the side room. Let him wait, Tai-ho said calmly. We'll follow proper protocol. A door opened, and a familiar face entered the room. Jun Lee, the veteran Korean human diplomat who had been Earth's representative for the past 10 years, walked toward them with a smile. Though he was in his 60s, Jun moved with the energy of a much younger man. Ambassador Kim, Jun said, shaking Tai-ho's hand. I see you've already made quite an impression on your first day. Not exactly how I planned to start my mission, Tai-ho admitted. Jun laughed. Sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected places. He turned to Hana. Assistant Director Park, thank you for your assistance in this matter. Just doing my job, Hana replied with a small bow. Jun's face grew serious. The incident with Officer Dahl has spread throughout the hub. Every species is talking about it. The timing is interesting. How so? Tai-ho asked. Some council members were already questioning whether Earth should be granted higher status, Jun explained. This incident puts a spotlight on the discrimination humans face. It makes our case stronger. The main door opened again, and aliens of various shapes and sizes began to enter. Each took their place at the round table. Some nodded to the humans, others ignored them completely. Jun leaned close to Tai-ho. Remember, stay calm no matter what they say. The Vraxian representative, Kerr, will try to make you angry. Don't give him that satisfaction. Tai-ho nodded. I understand. The last to enter was the Vraxian representative. Kerr was even larger than Dole, with darker blue skin and gold markings on his face that showed his high rank. He wore an elaborate uniform covered in medals and symbols of authority. His 4 yellow eyes scanned the room and fixed on Tai-ho with obvious dislike. Let us begin, said a tall, thin alien with silver skin, the council moderator. This emergency session has been called to address the incident involving Earth's new ambassador, Tae-ho Kim, and a member of the hub security force. Kerr immediately stood up. "This is a waste of the council's time," he said, his deep voice filling the room. "A minor misunderstanding has been blown out of proportion." "Minor?" Hannah said sharply. Officer Dole publicly humiliated an ambassador and used speciesist language. Kerr waved a three-fingered hand dismissively. Officer Dole was simply enforcing zone restrictions. He had no way of knowing the human was an ambassador, since he was not wearing proper identification. Jun stood slowly. "If I may address the council," he said. When the moderator nodded, Jun continued. "For centuries, humans have been categorized as a developing species with limited rights in galactic affairs. Today's incident merely highlights what we have endured silently for generations. All new species face an adjustment period," said a small green representative from the Centauri delegation. "Humans have only been part of the galactic community for 20 years. Other species waited much longer for full recognition." Jun nodded politely. "That is true. But may I remind the Council that Earth has met or exceeded every requirement for established status in just 20 years, a process that took most species 50 years or more." Kerr snorted. "Meeting technical requirements is not the same as being truly ready for higher status. Humans are still primitive in many ways." Tae-ho watched the debate without speaking. He studied each representative, noting who seemed sympathetic and who did not. The Vraxians were clearly against Earth's advancement, but several other species seemed more open-minded. Finally, the moderator turned to Tae-ho. "Ambassador Kim, you have been silent. Would you like to address the council?" All eyes turned to Tae-ho as he stood. "Thank you, moderator. I had planned to present Earth's petition for reclassification tomorrow at the formal session. But since we are gathered here now, I will share our position." Tae-ho touched a control on his wrist, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed images of Earth, its cities, natural wonders, and people. Ambassador Kim could demand reparations under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter, Jun added. "Discrimination against a sovereign species diplomat is a serious offense." The council members shifted uncomfortably. Under Article 7, Earth could demand trade concessions worth billions in universal credits. "I am not here to demand reparations," Tae-ho said clearly. His voice was calm but strong. "Instead, I request that Earth's status be immediately upgraded from developing to established species classification, with all accompanying rights and privileges." Kerr laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the room. "Based on one unfortunate incident, the Council does not change long-standing classifications because one diplomat was offended." "Not because of today's incident," Tae-ho replied, "but because we have earned it through our achievements, cultural contributions, and peaceful integration efforts." The holographic display changed to show statistics and charts. Earth's rapid technological progress, the popularity of human arts and entertainment throughout the galaxy, the success rate of human businesses, the low crime rate among humans in galactic territory. Humans have contributed more to galactic society in 20 years than some species have in a century, Tae-ho said. Yet we are still treated as second-class citizens. The Centauri representative leaned forward. "Your data is impressive, Ambassador, but there are protocols for reclassification. Committees must review your petition. Studies must be conducted. The process takes time. Time during which humans will continue to face discrimination," Hannah added quietly. The moderator looked around the table. "This is an unusual situation. Perhaps we should vote on whether to expedite Earth's petition for reclassification." Kerr stood again, his massive form towering over the others. "The Vraxian Empire strongly opposes any change to established protocols. Earth must wait its turn, just as all species have done before." "All species?" Tae-ho asked. He touched his wrist control again, and the display changed to show new data. According to Council records, the Vraxian Empire was granted an expedited reclassification 200 years ago. The process took just 5 years instead of the usual 50. Kerr's blue skin darkened with anger. That was different. We had proven ourselves through military service to the Council. And humans have proven ourselves through peaceful contributions, Tahoe countered. Why is military service valued more highly than medicine, art, and environmental restoration? A murmur went around the table. Several representatives nodded in agreement with Tahoe's words. I propose a compromise, said a representative from the Trazarian delegation, the same species as Administrator Zoll. We will form a special committee to review Earth's petition. The committee will have 30 days to make a decision, much faster than the usual process. Kerr began to object, but the moderator raised a hand to silence him. That seems reasonable. All in favor. One by one, the representatives voted. The Vraxians voted against the proposal, as did 2 other species known to be their close allies. But the rest voted in favor. The motion passes, the moderator announced. A special committee will be formed immediately. Tahoe bowed slightly. Thank you for your consideration. As the meeting ended and the representatives began to leave, Kerr approached Tahoe. The Vraxian loomed over him, his 4 eyes narrowed with anger. This is not over, human, Kerr said quietly. You have made a powerful enemy today. Tahoe met the Vraxian's gaze without flinching. I did not come here to make enemies, Representative Kerr, but I will not stand by while my people are treated unfairly. Kerr leaned closer. Officer Dole is my nephew. His career is ruined because of you. His career was ruined by his own actions, Tahoe replied. But I have no wish to punish him further. In fact, I would be willing to speak on his behalf if you support Earth's petition for reclassification. Kerr stepped back, surprise visible on his alien face. You would do that, after how he treated you. This isn't about personal revenge, Tahoe said. It's about creating a better future for all species. The Vraxian stared at Tahoe for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned and left the room. Jun came to stand beside Tahoe. That was well handled. Offering to help his nephew was unexpected. It was the right thing to do, Tahoe said. And it gives Representative Kerr something to think about. Hannah approached with her tablet. I've just received word from Administrator Zoll. The special committee has already been formed. And guess who's been named as chair? Who? Jun asked. Representative Kerr, Hannah said with a small smile. It seems the moderator has a sense of humor. Tahoe nodded. Now Kerr must either support our petition or publicly explain why he refuses to do so. Either way, Earth wins. Jun put a hand on Tahoe's shoulder. I was right to recommend you for this position. You've accomplished more in 1 day than I did in my first year. The work is just beginning, Tahoe said. But today, we've made progress. As they left the meeting room, they could see the vast structure of the hub spread out below them. Somewhere in that massive space station, thousands of humans were going about their lives. Working, shopping, eating, laughing. Soon, their status in the galaxy might change for the better. All because one man refused to be treated as less than he was. 3 months passed quickly. The special committee, led by Representative Kerr, reviewed Earth's petition for reclassification. At first, the Vraxian had tried to delay the process. He asked for more data, more studies, more time. But Tahoe was patient and provided everything requested. Then something unexpected happened. Kerr visited Earth. The Vraxian representative spent 2 weeks on the blue planet. He saw the great cities and the quiet villages. He met with human leaders and ordinary people. He experienced Earth's many cultures, foods, and arts. He even visited Officer Dole, who was now working at the Earth Embassy as part of a new cultural exchange program. When Kerr returned to the hub, he was changed. At the final committee meeting, he shocked everyone by voting in favor of Earth's reclassification. Earth has earned its place among the established species, Kerr announced. I was wrong to oppose this petition. Today, Tahoe stood on a platform overlooking the main concourse of Level 5. the same place where Officer Dahl had humiliated him 3 months ago. But the concourse looked different now. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling, showing Earth's symbol alongside the emblems of other established species. A large crowd had gathered below, with beings from dozens of planets. Nervous? Hannah asked, standing next to Taiho in her formal uniform. A little, Taiho admitted. This is a big moment. You earned it, Hannah said. We all did. The platform was filled with important people. Jun-Li stood tall and proud, his diplomatic medal gleaming on his chest. Behind them were 20 human representatives from various Earth nations. Across from them stood delegates from 27 alien species, including a group of Vraxians. Administrator Zol approached the front of the platform and raised 3 slender arms for silence. The crowd below grew quiet. Today marks a historic moment in galactic history, Zol announced, voice carrying through hidden speakers. For only the 3rd time in the past 1,000 years, a species has achieved reclassification in under 50 years. Applause and strange alien sounds of approval echoed through the concourse. Earth is now officially recognized as an established species in the galactic community, Zol continued, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that status brings. Taiho looked out at the crowd. Humans were cheering and hugging each other. Many aliens were applauding too. A few looked unhappy, but they were the minority. As part of this new era, we are proud to open the first human cultural center in any galactic commerce hub, Zol said. Ambassador Kim, would you do the honor of cutting the ribbon? Taiho stepped forward. A long blue ribbon stretched across the entrance to a large space behind them. This area had once been part of the premium zone, where Officer Dahl had told him humans weren't welcome. Taiho took the special scissors offered by Zol. They were designed to be used by many different alien hands, with a simple cutting mechanism. As he prepared to cut the ribbon, he noticed a familiar figure in the crowd. Dahl stood at the back, no longer wearing a security uniform. He now wore the simple gray clothes of a maintenance worker. Their eyes met briefly across the distance. Taiho gave a small nod. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement that even painful experiences could lead to positive change. Taiho cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered as the doors to the Human Cultural Center slid open, revealing a beautiful space filled with art, music, and information about Earth. Thank you all for coming today, Taiho said, stepping up to the microphone. This center belongs to all humans in the galaxy. It's a place to celebrate our cultures and share them with our galactic neighbors. The crowd began to move into the center, eager to see what was inside. Taiho stepped back from the microphone and took a deep breath. Jun approached him with a smile. Excellent speech, short and to the point. I'll save the long speeches for the council meetings, Taiho replied. We still have much work to do. Jun nodded. Yes, but take a moment to enjoy this victory. It's an important step. As the crowd moved through the new center, Taiho and Hannah walked together, watching the reactions of aliens experiencing human culture. Some listened to Earth music with expressions of wonder. Others examined paintings and sculptures with great interest. A group of small, furry aliens was especially fascinated by a display of traditional Korean clothing. I never thought I'd see something like this, Hannah said quietly. When I first came to the hub 5 years ago, humans were barely tolerated in most areas. Things change, Taiho said, sometimes faster than we expect. They reached a section dedicated to human achievements in science and medicine. A holographic display showed how human researchers had helped cure a disease that had affected several alien species. Ambassador Kim, a deep voice said behind them. Taiho turned to see Representative Kerr standing there. The Vraxian was alone, without his usual assistants. Representative, Taiho said with a polite nod. I'm glad you could attend today. I wanted to see this center for myself, Kerr said. His voice was different than before, less harsh, more thoughtful. It is impressive. Thank you, Taiho replied. Your support made this possible. Kerr seemed uncomfortable with the praise. I did what was right. After seeing Earth for myself, I could not deny your petition. What changed your mind? Hannah asked. The Vraxian was quiet for a moment. On my world, we value strength above all else. Physical strength, military strength, the strength to dominate others. He gestured around the cultural center. But on Earth, I saw different kinds of strength. The strength to heal, to create beautiful things, to welcome strangers. Taeho nodded, understanding. Each species has its own strengths. In the galaxy, we need all kinds. Yes, Kerr agreed. My nephew Dal has learned this lesson as well. Working at your embassy has changed him. I'm glad to hear that, Taeho said. He asked me to give you this, Kerr said, holding out a small package wrapped in blue cloth. Taeho took it and carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a beautiful model of Earth, carved from blue Vraxian crystal. The continents were picked out in gold, and tiny lights inside made it glow softly. It's beautiful, Taeho said, genuinely touched by the gift. Dol made it himself, Kerr explained. It is a traditional Vraxian way to apologize for a great wrong. Please tell him I accept his apology, Taeho said, rewrapping the crystal Earth carefully. As Kerr walked away, Hannah looked at Taeho with new respect. You've changed things more than you know. Not just for humans, but for other species too. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, conversations, and celebrations. By evening, Taeho was tired but happy. He stood at the window of his new office in the Human Cultural Center, looking out at the stars. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. The door opened, and a group of aliens entered. They were small, with purple skin and large eyes. Taeho recognized them as Pelori, a species classified as developing, like humans had been until today. Ambassador Kim, the leader said, bowing slightly. We hope we are not disturbing you. Not at all, Taeho replied. How can I help you? The Pelori looked at each other nervously. Then the leader spoke again. We have watched what you accomplished for your species. It gives us hope that perhaps things can change for us too. Taeho gestured for them to sit. Tell me about your situation. For the next hour, the Pelori explained how they faced discrimination similar to what humans had experienced. Despite their advanced art and philosophy, they were still treated as lesser beings by many established species. We do not have your physical strength or your technology, the Pelori leader explained, but we have other gifts to offer the galaxy. Taeho listened carefully. When they finished speaking, he nodded. I understand, and I want you to know that Earth will support your petition for fair treatment. Hope showed on the aliens' strange faces. You would do that for us. Of course, Taeho said. My journey from Earth to the stars taught me that dignity isn't granted, it's recognized. All beings deserve respect, regardless of their physical form or technological development. After the Pelori left, Hannah entered the office with a data tablet. You've had 12 similar requests for meetings today, she said. Representatives from various developing species want Earth's support. Taeho smiled. Schedule them all. This is just the beginning. The beginning of what? Hannah asked. Change, Taeho replied, looking back at the stars. Real change. Outside the window, ships moved through the darkness of space. Some were large and powerful, belonging to ancient species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Others were smaller, newer, carrying beings who were just beginning their journey into the galaxy. In one corner of the vast hub, a Vraxian maintenance worker carefully polished the sign outside the Human Cultural Center. Dal worked slowly, making sure the Earth symbol gleamed in the light. As he worked, he thought about his time on the human planet and how it had changed him. Far below, in the shopping areas of Level 5, a young human couple browsed freely in shops that would have turned them away 3 months ago. No one questioned their right to be there. In the council chambers, Jun Li presented a new proposal, a complete review of the species classification system, with input from all members of the galactic community, regardless of status. And in his quiet office, Tai-Ho Kim placed the crystal earth on his desk, where its soft light filled the room. The incident that began with discrimination had ended with a fundamental shift in how species interact in galactic society, proving that sometimes a single moment of injustice, when met with dignity rather than rage, can transform an entire civilization's future.